Hello, and welcome to the third in a series of videos on the 2016-2017 Writing Units of Study. Throughout this series of videos, we will explore the re-envisioned writing assessment tools and practices, as well as possibilities for aligning your instruction and assessment practices to empower your students to own the increasingly demanding expectations for writing. More specifically, in this video, we will explore how you might utilize the stance of teacher as writer to support your students as they strategically play with a variety of real-world writing purposes to determine their focus for their research work, furthering the development of their ideas. But first, let's take a moment to highlight and review the suggested performance tasks or writing assessment tools in Stage 2 of the 2016-2017 CCAP Writing Units of Study. When you access a writing unit of study in CCAP and click on the Stage 2 tab, you'll find a list of suggested performance tasks, including the Writing Assessment Practices page of the JLIT website, a writing progression, an on-demand performance task prompt, a rubric, and a corresponding checklist. In the previous videos of this series, we predicted that you might already be using these suggested performance tasks to design lessons that align the genre-specific writing units of study instructional practices with these re-envisioned writing assessment tools. However, we also predicted that you might be wondering how to tighten this alignment. To this end, we explored how you might support your students as they gather, immerse themselves in, and closely study the kind of writing they will be expected to write like. We also explored how you might introduce a checklist to your students and ask them to examine how the author of their self-selected mentor text demonstrated the criteria or grade level expectations outlined on the checklist, asking them to identify one or two descriptors that they will need to further explore to better see what they might need to do as writers to meet these expectations. We discussed how the criteria on the grade level specific checklist may be the just right challenge for many of your students. But for your students who need acceleration, we also noted that you might opt to have students annotate grade level specific rubrics, as the rubrics outline the criteria from one grade level above to 2 grade levels below. We explored how you might support your students as they closely study and annotate Ruth Tam's use of comparisons and expert quotes to layer information, to maintain tension, engage readers' interest, and build complexity throughout her article, This Is How You Get Ebola. We noted that this close study might not only help students clarify specific craft moves they might make, but it might also help students see how to strategically use mentor text to strengthen their vision of the criteria or grade level expectations outlined on the rubrics and checklists. We explored how you might show your students how you use these notable skills, techniques, or craft moves to set specific goals for your writing work, enabling you to take the stance of teacher as writer, focusing your instructional write-alouds for whole group instruction as well as one-on-one and small group writing conferences. More specifically, we discussed how you might demonstrate how to use comparisons and expert quotes or dialogue to layer information, developing a familiar or personal idea related to one of your writing territories. To further build on your stance of teacher as writer, we explored how you might continue to use instructional write-alouds to show your students how you expand a writing territory by considering less familiar or personal ideas related to your original territory, ideas that require research that prompts you to ask about real life, real experiences, real people, real ideas, and beliefs. At this point in the study, You might prompt your students to return to the checklist, highlighting the criteria that outlines the grade level expectations for development of ideas or elaboration. This instructional think aloud might look and sound something like this. As experienced readers and writers, we know that authors intentionally vary or shift their writing purposes. For example, an author might reflect on her experiences providing context and building background information to write an engaging lead, then present information in a surprising way using examples to clarify, explain, and maintain interest. And finally, analyze facts and information to strengthen the significance of the topic and allude to potential challenges. With a partner, take some time to closely study your mentor text, asking, where does the author's purpose shift? How do I know? In the article, This Is How You Get Ebola by Ruth Tam, students might notice that she begins her article by informing her readers that 3,000 people in West Africa have died from the Ebola virus as of September 30th. But she quickly shifts her purpose and inquires, how exactly is this virus transmitted from human to human? To further develop her ideas, students might also notice that Tam uses comparisons in her article to analyze facts and information. For example, she compares Ebola's glycoproteins to giant oak trees with branches and leaves to illustrate the structure and function of Ebola. And to conclude, students might notice that Tam quotes an expert who takes a stand calling scientists to understand the structure and function of Ebola so that they can design drugs to more effectively combat this disease. Once students closely study how authors intentionally vary or shift writing purposes, you might use a series of instructional write-alouds over several days, illustrating your writing and explaining your writing processes, highlighting how you use real-world writing purposes to focus your research work, furthering the development of your ideas. These focus mini lessons might look and sound something like this. While I share my writing and think out loud, look and listen to the writing work I'm doing as I play with a variety of writing purposes to determine the focus of my research work, furthering the development of my ideas, so that you can give this writing strategy a try, focusing your research work, furthering the development of your ideas. When I write to express and reflect, I examine my life, looking back to look forward. I don't need to look beyond my individual experiences to research and develop my ideas. But I know the other real-world writing purposes will require me to look beyond myself. I know they will require me to research a variety of trustworthy and significant external sources. When I write to inform and explain, I state my point and focus my research on gathering details and evidence that I can present to support my point in a surprising way. When I write to evaluate and judge, I focus on the worth or value of an idea, object, or person. To do this, I research to identify the criteria or standards that are used to deem that idea, object, or person as good or bad. When I write to inquire and explore, I research to collect information, to formulate a question or problem, allowing my readers to watch me wrestle with that question or problem. When I write to analyze and interpret, I research to gather evidence that explains the ideas or concepts that are difficult to understand. When I write to take a stand or propose a solution, I research to collect information, to describe a problem, suggest possible solutions, and provide justification to convince my readers to accept my position. As you continue to explore the 2016-2017 CCAP writing units of study and the re-envisioned assessment tools and practices, please contact a member of your secondary ELA content specialist team with your questions.